All right, we're gonna make this video about pretty much, well, not pretty much, about the trades I took this week and how you can kind of read the week. I might do another video actually backtesting this week, but I already think I did a good, pretty good job in doing it in real time. That I don't need to go in hindsight. Um, but yeah, we're gonna talk about this hourly and then drop down into time frames, and we're also gonna talk about my mistake on Friday and what I did wrong there and why I actually lost on Friday. Super annoyed about it. Even now, it's annoying, man. It's really, really annoying, and I hope that it can be a lesson for you guys and for me too. So, first of all, this is the hourly time frame, already marked out. So just to kind of go over it quickly so you understand. First of all, what you do every day is mark out midnight open, the time, and you can also, if you want to, mark out the actual price point, which can be a very important factor for New York trading, right? And let me explain real quick how potentially it could be that. The first thing I will say is midnight open tends to be less important later on in the week, but you can still use it. But essentially, the idea of midnight open is if midnight opens and at 9:30 we are significantly above it and showing some sort of signs that we want to go lower, right? For example, here obviously we sweep this, we refuse to go back into this gap. Yes, we're going higher but very slowly. We sweep this high, close bearish. We have left equal lows at London, right? So there's reason for us to go lower, and then you see that midnight open at 8 a.m. we're basically at the current high of the day. That is a potential sign that we could go lower, right? For example, right? But essentially, all you're asking yourself midnight open is what are we doing, right? For example, in London, did we go down and then start displacing, and then New York can retrace, right? Or is essentially, right, to make it as easy as possible, midnight open will help you understand a lot of times whether the day is going to be a reversal or a continuation, right, of what we did. For example, on Tuesday, what happened? Midnight open, we displaced. What did we do compared to this? We obviously displaced through this low and kept going lower. Waited for this gap. At 9:30, what did we do? We left equal lows and went back into this gap, right? With this displacement lower and now reason again to potentially go back into the slow, if we get some sort of rejection inside of here, right, for example this and whatever, perhaps that means we are going to do what? Go lower, right? And so on and so forth, right? But not gonna spend more time talking about that. I already marked out everything I used, right? But if we zoom in and ask, okay, why did I mark out what I marked out? Well, what happened? London session on Monday. We reswept an hourly low inside of an hourly gap. We edged this new week opening gap, void, whatever you want to call it. We edged it and started pumping higher, which gave me what? Well, it gave me more confidence that New York might potentially dump towards these lows. That's why I think it's important again to mark, and I did, right? This is all based off what I traded off. Mark out this high, this low, and now these equal lows towards New York, and obviously then this high when you see this happening. Tuesday, again, we just talked about, we displaced through this low, created these gaps, and down here we're trading at a low, so there's no reason for you to trade here until what? This gap is hit and potentially tagged. So the only thing on Tuesday that makes sense is to mark out this gap at this low. There's quite frankly nothing else. If you want to, you could mark out this high as well, but it doesn't really do anything, right? Like it's basically just this gap either way, so why mark it? Now on Wednesday, what I could mark as well if I wanted to is this inversion that made me believe that we are going to head to this next high right here, right? So I was bullish. We had bullish gaps here and a very small void, right, in form of here. So I used this for my trading, right? I was trading here and I saw, oh, we edged this high and we went lower, right? So if we edged this high, we gave us equal highs for potentially to go and take, to go down first and then go take these highs and then potentially continue towards here. And to see that, then I want to see the hourly and the 5-minute keep respecting in form of this gap, right? So again, this gap right here, these equal lows right here, these equal highs right here, and this gap, and that's pretty much it. And again, how simple is this? I'm just marking out the most or the next swing high after this swing high. There is nothing special here. The only thing is it's a swing high. Look, it's higher than this high, but it's also higher than this high, so it becomes a swing high. That's why I mark it. Simple. Oh, that was not meant to happen. I don't even know how the fuck I did that shit, bro. I pressed one button, bro. What the fuck? Yeah, we're not deleting my fucking... Right. Now, furthermore, on Thursday, what happened Thursday? Kind of similar action to Monday. We edged this low, created an SMT, created a rejection candle, went all the way back up, swept this hourly high, and this gap, and then we got that 5-minute rejection here at 8 a.m. to potentially, you know, short based off of. And again, we'll talk about what trades I took on this day for that to happen. And then lastly, Friday, again, I had the correct idea on Friday. What was I looking for? Well, I was looking for this hourly high. Again, it's this simple. It's just an hourly high being taken and a potential move back down here. We had a consolidation here. We have a rejection candle here. Even though we have this hourly gap, I still preferred to follow the overall bearish trend we've had so far. However, again, we will talk about the issue with with that day. Super annoying. I'm still annoyed at myself, but I cannot change it. You know, I cannot change it. I can just learn and try my best to never do it again, which sadly probably will happen because these kind of mistakes will just happen sometimes, and it's sad, but what can I do, man, right? And there is probably nothing you guys can do either. But again, overall, I had the correct idea. We swept this high instantly, rejected it, and moved lower for basically the whole day, right? And, you know, judging I traded London, I never even traded 930, so, you know, it's no point to look at that. But either way, we will instantly go into a 5-minute and talk about it here, right? So if we go into Monday's PA, we'll start here. What did I take, right? Well, what happened on Monday? We swept out the hourly low and we kind of started bullshitting here, then we swept these lows and started consolidating. We edge this low, and then what do? We finally break out higher at this candle here, right? At this candle here, we finally break higher. However, I am not willing to just start longing here, right? It's a little bit too early for me. We have no SMT. It's not really that confirmed to me yet. So I prefer to wait for more confirmation. Also to specify, this was a eval trade, right? I will specify that real quick. This was a eval trade. But once this happened, my initial thought was, okay, we could be bullish here, but I want to see us create gaps and respect them. So we create this gap and we respected it. However, I did not entry on that either. I ended up entering after we took this gap and respected it as well. And at this point, I said, okay, there is no way we're not going to this high, and we're potentially leaving these lows for what? New York session, which I was absolutely correct on. So I played a little bit of a wider stop loss. I think I played it like this. It's not significantly larger. And I looked for a 1.5 RR to get half of the thing, where I went to go break even here. And that's the first trade of the week, right? Pretty solid. Now, furthermore, I took another trade, and this was on fundeds. What happened? We have 930 here, and at 930, what do? Well, we are again above midnight open. We resweep the high without going down into the gaps, which is already a red flag for me if I wanted to go long. Then we get this 5-minute rejection candle, which is another red flag for me if I wanted to go long, right? So obviously a lot of stuff is adding up, right? First of all, I believed that we're going to go to these lows here. Second of all, after we took out this high, instead of getting like an hourly gap, respecting it and continuing higher, like we did Thursday, I think, or Wednesday, what do? We just keep kind of slowly moving higher, very, very slowly here. Then we run fast and instantly reject it at this point. Didn't really look great. And then we had this that candle to the downside. However, I did not entry here. The reason is, it's no reason at all. This should have been my entry, but I was just late because I was late. Fuck, like that's, I don't know what to tell you. And since my stop loss had to be that large, I did just end up taking it for a 1-to-1. Now, in hindsight, I do believe I could have held it a little bit longer. We see this actually did get low-key edged, but the positive thing is I basically never would have targeted this low. Why? Because it is my main draw, right? But for example, this is technically two different draws, even though they're equal, and I think they're both going to get hit. This is still technically both two different draws, right? So I can consider this one draw and two draw, right? And then potentially something like this just in the middle of the chart as my first draw. So holding it to this technically would not be against my rules at all. I think the idea was super good. I think the read was super good. I think the entry, right? If you think, okay, I think we're going to this low, you should be asking yourself, okay, from this high to this low, where is the 50%? Well, it's here. And as long as your entry is anywhere above this 50%, it makes sense for you to look for more than 1-to-1 RR, right? That's why, in hindsight, I do believe I could have very easily sneaked out with a little bit, at least like a 1.5 RR maybe, right? Maybe I would have got like break even here at 1.5 RR after we edged this low, for example, something like that. But I can't be mad. But I do think I could have, potentially gotten a little bit more from this day. But whatever, right? What I did end up taking was this 1-to-1 RR. But again, what I just kind of mentioned is just pure reflection and, possibility, call it. Not mad at all. It's just purely something I could have done better. The idea is clean. Everything looks good. There is no reason why not to do this, right? Now, Tuesday, we had another kind of sad 1-to-1, which again, I don't know, man. Tuesday low-key hurts a little bit more with the 1-to-1, but it's like, fuck it, bro. I can never be mad about a 1-to-1, but I do really want to now focus on, if my draw is good, if my draw, whatever, I want to look for, slightly higher RR, because I have done some reflection of my own and some study of my own, and I have realized that, yeah, I do hit my 1-to-1s, and I do have a pretty high win rate to doing that. But I also realized that pretty much like 4 out of 5 trades that hit 1-to-1 hit also like 3 RR if I don't move my stop loss. If I move my stop loss, then no. A lot of them also get break even. But if I keep the same stop loss and like a 3 RR trade, genuinely like 3 or 4 trades out of 5 will hit it, right? If I trade exactly the same. So I said to myself, okay, why not just trade based off of my hourly draws? Why fucking not, right? So essentially on Tuesday, what we had is I traded 9:30. We got this move here. We edged this right here and created these equal lows, which did what again? It gave me the idea that, okay, if we are not going to sweep this low and go higher, then we're going to go higher in order to sweep these lows, right? So again, my idea was that we are going to meet this low and this low, right? So it makes sense for me to at least target this. Now, my entry happened here, and no, I do not think it is late. I understand if you took this trade. I fully understand it, but I still prefer to enter on the actual proper, proper displacement candle, right? And I again took it for a 1-to-1. Can't really be mad about it, but damn, like, it makes complete sense for me to look like something like this. There is zero reason why I couldn't be doing this. Zero. No reason. No reason. Other than the fact that I just simply kind of was in this like strict mindset for a long time that 1-to-1 is king. I'm not gonna lie, 1-to-1 is fucking fire. But what I will say, a little bit of a tip if you are trading 1-to-1s, is if you're trading 1-to-1s, you need quick TPs and quick break evens. That's the edge in 1-to-1 trading. If your 1-to-1 trades are not on average maximum 10 minutes, you are probably doing something wrong. But I have evolved from that kind of trading. I still kind of do it. And what you will realize a lot of the times that these quick 1-to-1s, they will never be moves like this, right? Based off the hourly and the 1 minute. They will be based off of this, but out of, for example, this right here, right? If you caught a 1 minute inversion or something like that, and you just go quick 1-to-1 like this, that is the method. Quick continuation 1-to-1s. And I still will take these trades sometimes, but I just prefer taking these higher time frame moves that are just way better, way nicer, way easier to deal with, in my opinion. And I am fine nowadays with taking these trades that, last an hour 30, 2, 3 hours. I am okay with it because I know I can read these markets well. I know I can do it. I've proven it to myself plenty of times, right? So I really just prefer doing this and having easier trades, not so much stress. It's just kind of like, it's not that fast paced, right? It still kind of is, right? But I don't know, it's so much easier for me and I really enjoy it. And this is the way I like to do it, right? Sometimes I will take these continuation trades. However, it will usually be if I miss the initial trade. And we will talk about Friday, how I actually messed this up. That was my mistake. We'll talk about it a little bit once we get into Friday. But again, zero reason why I couldn't hold this. Again, a little bit of a reflection. Is it bad that I took a 1-to-1? Not necessarily. But I need to get more and more confident with holding these trades because I know I can do this, right? It's again, there is zero reason. If I start doing this, as long as I do it logically, when I have these ideas, when everything is good and I follow my setup, my win rate will not tank at all. My win rate will be exactly the same. Maybe, 5 ± % up or down, depending on, the month, week, on my performance on the market, right? But pretty much the difference in my win rate will be negligible compared to the increase in my RR, right? I can double my RR, and I've realized that through studying and through watching my old trades, right? And watching my setup trades. And I've realized that I can legit double my RR and have the same win rate. Why fucking not, right? And again, important, do it when it makes sense. I will never force it. I will only do it when it makes sense on the hourly. If it doesn't make sense on the hourly, I will not force it. Furthermore, we'll go now into Wednesday, arguably the best day of the week, where I ended up taking a little bit of a larger RR trade. Because I was so confident in it, I said, fuck it, I kind of have to. So what happened? We edged the high here, which again, if we edge the high and go lower, then I will be thinking we're going lower in order to go back into the high, right? If we were to go lower here, I think we should have swept this high and then went lower. If that happened, I would have been way more inclined to look for shorts, right? But we didn't. We edged the high. We left the high. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be bullish. So what happened here at, 6 a.m., we fully tagged in the hourly gap, which is important, right? Because if we fully tagged in the gap, there is no reason for us to go even lower, right? What happens? We create this rejection candle at the low and we start, moving to the upside. Now, yes, we do have these massive gaps to the left, but through experience, and it's kind of hard to explain it, but I've seen so many times that when this kind of PA happens, yes, the longs look weird, but the idea is so good. When the idea is so good and you see this, usually it will still go up, right? There's no reason for us to resweep here. But what I ended up waiting for is I waited still for some sort of confirmation, this time not in case of a inversion, but in case of a 5-minute bullish gap being respected. Because what does that tell me? Well, if a 5-minute bullish gap is being respected, that tells me that we're already bullish on the 5-minute. And if we're already bullish on the 5-minute, then why should I be worrying that these 5-minute bearish gaps are going to work? The 5-minute has already flipped. So I ended up taking this right here with a stop loss here, holding it all the way to 3RR like this. And essentially, to clarify, the original idea going into this trade was holding to these highs, right? In that case, it would have been 1.5 RR. But I let it, or I gave it the possibility to see what happens, because I was so confident since this hourly gap was inversed, right? I was so confident that we are going to go up to these highs. So I said, okay, I'll give it the possibility to show me what it is going to do. And obviously what happened, we ran past this high, hit 2RR, and we created an hourly gap just before 9:30. So I said, brilliant. All I'll do is I'll do this. I'll move my stop loss to break even. Why do I do that? Because my break even is below the hourly gap and it is below it significantly, right? If I got break even here and we still move higher, it would be super, super unlucky, right? So I said, okay, I'll go break even here and I'll let it run. I'll let it run out of the hourly gap. And what would be my target then? Well, this, and obviously that 3RR mark, which is just around here. And yeah, I mean, fuck, beautiful trade, right? Very, very good trade, very good read. And again, I held it, right? I let it tell me what it's going to do. I listened to the draw. I was confident and I didn't doubt myself. And look what happened. Beautiful, right? And this could have been the same on Monday, Monday trade, the Monday short. The same could have been on the Tuesday short if I just trusted myself more and just held these draws to places where it was logical to hold it, right? So again, Wednesday performance immaculate. I'm really happy with the entry I got. I'm really happy with the stop loss placement. I'm really happy with the management of this trade. Super happy overall, right? Very, very, very good day. Arguably one of my better days in trading, right? Because I don't usually go for these RR, right? 3RR trade is a pretty fucking big deal for me, but I want to make it not so much. I will say 3 to 4 RR is going to be my limit for most days, because this week I will say was really good, but I think it was just this week being really good. And if I change my trading to only trade 3 and 4 RR, or like almost always, I think it's going to hurt me more than it's going to help me. But again, on days like this where I have a really good idea, I get a really good entry and a really good RR possibility of, for example, 3RR. For example, this could have been a 4RR trade if I wanted to, right? But I pushed myself back a bit and I said, all right, let's, stay a little bit before always. And that's also what I'm going to do. If the market is telling me that it can give me 2RR, I'll take 1.7. Right? If the market's telling me he can give me 4, I'll take, for example, 3 here. I don't want to push it, because I know that the more I push it and I look for these, top of the top draws, I know that a lot of the times I could get fucked doing that. So I will always see what I can get and then go a little bit back and say, okay, I can get 2RR. That makes sense. 2RR makes sense. I'm only going to take 1.7. And I'm going to leave that 0.3 just because my mentality would be cleaner and better if I did that, right? So, I'm really happy. Nothing to say here. Now, we're going into Tuesday. Again, pretty good day. But one of those trades, again, was taking on evals. Monday and Wednesday, there was an eval trade each. Other than that, everything was taken on fundeds, right? So what we ended up taking here is I saw the SMT happen here on the lows, and we started consolidating, and we did what? We broke out of that consolidation to the upside, giving us an inversion fair value gap. So already we have now shifted higher, but I didn't take that entry. Again, I waited for gaps to be created and respected. And once this gap right here got created and we got a rejection candle out of it, I played it as a higher time frame idea with a little bit of a wider stop to give it breathing room. And I looked for 1.5 to pass the evals and get a brand new set of, brand new accounts. So I don't get sent to live. Yeah, I mean, I took this straight. That's it. There's nothing more to say here. Now, into another what could have been a really, really amazing trade, but a little bit of miscommunication between me and my brain. What happened during, well, not 9:30 actually, this is 8:30. We reswept this previous hourly high inside of this gap and we started showing very strong bearish reaction. And I said, okay, I think we are going to these lows, but I was way too lost in my thought process. And okay, this is very important in trading, right? Sometimes you need to just decide. And this day I couldn't really decide. I still won, right? I still won, but we're talking about what kind of mistake I did. So what happened here is we got this rejection candle, we got this inversion, and again, I was a little bit late to the party. So I ended up taking this second candle, but I should have been already in here, just to clarify that. But I was a little bit late. But again, it's still a very good entry, right? If you again do the method from here to here, and you mark out the 50%, well, look, I'm entering even above the 75% of this range, right? I'm almost entering within the like 87.5% of the range, right? So really fucking good entry either way. Just keep that in mind, right? Even though, yes, I was late here, I didn't just FOMO trade in. The reason why I still took this trade was because the entry was still very fucking good, right? Very fucking good. And initially, again, my idea was what? Well, this is my draw, right? Right? But then I have this as well, right? So we can look at 3.88, 3.62. Okay, so I can get, roughly 4 RR again. I wanted to look for 3. I wanted to look for a 3 RR. But here is the small little mistake I did. Call it mistake if you wish. Around here in price, around somewhere in this gap, I decided to add position. And through me adding that to that position, my entry went from here to roughly here, right? And my TP moved from here to like here, something like this, right? So this was now my new take profit. However, we were just coming close to 9:30. My entry had now been sabotaged into a way, way worse place, right? And I was just not confident in the fact that 9:30 or right here that we might edge this, consolidate, and 9:30 will just shoot up and then dump, right? So then I asked myself, okay, where's my stop loss, right? If I just put my stop loss back up, my stop loss was somewhere around here. Again, personally, in the moment, obviously we can see in hindsight now it's all beautiful, right? But that wasn't the decision I made during this trade. I said, this stop loss is just way too risky. This break even is just way too risky. So I said to myself, fuck it. I'm just getting out with 2 RR. And I ended up essentially doing exactly that. When we swept this low, I legit said, fuck it. Either it's going to insta run or it's going to hit my +2 RR. So I moved my stop loss to +2 and I just left it. And, I got break even, or I got stopped for +2 and then it ran. Unfortunate, whatever you might say. Am I a little bit annoyed at that? Yes. Do I still think I low-key made the right decision? Yes, I do think I made the right decision. The mistake did not lie in me closing the trade. That was not the mistake. The mistake lied in me adding position. If I had this entry still and the stop loss, I would have no issue with leaving the break even here. No issue. There's no way I'm getting break even here and we're still going lower. I don't believe it, right? That was what I was saying to myself. So again, the issue was not me exiting where I exited. That was not a problem in my opinion. The problem was me adding. It's very, again, annoying, very small, stupid kind of thing to do. It is what it is. But I already said to myself, I'm never adding into a position again. I don't know why I did it here. Very stupid. The only time I will ever add into a position from now on is if I see a trade inside of a trade. But here, I simply just saw a price point that I said, fuck it, let me just add now. Right? I'm in pretty good profit already. Let me just add now and go break even. Stupid. That was my mistake. Exiting was the right call. If I didn't add on, I would have had this as a 3RR trade. Whatever though, it is what it is. Again, I cannot change it. I can only learn. And what did I learn? Don't fucking add to your position for no reason. Now, into the fun day. Fun day Friday, right? What happened on Friday? Well, we did exactly what I wanted us to do, which is the motivating part, right? Knowing that I, again, read the market perfectly. The only issue was me being a little bit of a retard. Now, what happened? Friday was low-key a canon event. In the sense of one thing led into another that led into another. And in short, I will say, what Friday taught me is I need to lock in on my routine. Because what happened Friday? Well, I'll tell you what happened Friday. At about 2 a.m. my time is when I finally went to sleep. Usually I will go to sleep at midnight, but I fucking, scroll TikTok, watch Netflix, whatever, until 2 a.m. in the morning. And I set my alarm for 9 a.m. my time, which is 3 a.m. London time, instead of 8:30, which is right here, which I usually do. So what happened is I woke up at 9, and since I already woke up late, I got mad. Well, not mad, but I was like, okay, instead of walking my dog, which is usually the first thing I do in the morning, I said, let me hop on the charts. So I did. I hopped on the charts and I read it absolutely perfect. And I saw this candle and I hesitated. I said to myself, bro, you should walk your dog first and then trade. So instead of taking this trade and having a winning trade, and I was planning on taking it to 2RR, which would have hit very beautifully, right? This was what I was planning to do. I said, no, you woke up late. You should have walked with your dog and then trade. You should even be on your PC now. Do it. So despite this candle, I left and walked with my dog. I come back and I see this, and now I am fuming. I say to myself, fuck, what did you do, right? And it all led from me going to sleep late and waking up late. That's all how it started. And then I was in this mindset of, damn, I should have made this money. So now I want to make money, right? And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make money. So I was already in a super bad mindset instead of being logical, instead of staying focused, instead of just paying, attention to what is going on. So what happened is we obviously had this retracement into these gaps, and I wanted us to resweep. Right? And again, I want to clarify. Again, I'm saying this because it's true. I don't care because some people might see this and be like, or you're coping, right? If you think that, I genuinely don't care. I don't know how it could benefit me that you, for me to say this, right? I don't know how it would benefit. I'm saying this because it is the truth. Through my experience in trading, how I know to trade, I know when we have these wicks, when we have this kind of PA that we had here, I know this pattern. I know that we're going to edge the low, resweep, and then tank. I've traded so many times. In fact, you can look at my YouTube video and you can see me explaining this in the past. And I knew this is going to happen here. At this candle, 355, I said to myself, I am not taking a trade until this high is swept. I said it to myself. You know what I did 5 minutes later? I think some of you can guess. I just fucking shorted. I didn't care. I just shorted. I said, I'm not missing out on this. I was in such an emotional state from missing that initial short because I fucking stayed up late and woke up late that I didn't care. I needed to take this win. What did that do to me? Well, it fucking fried me. And even here, even when I was in this trade, When we reswept this low, I said to myself, bro, you should fucking leave. This is your only time to leave, and you should go break even right now. And I said no. I said no. I was in such a bad spot in that time because of that initial missing trade, because I woke up late, that I didn't care, right? I would rather stay in this trade and pray to God that it plays out rather than just admit that I'm trading emotionally like a monkey and leave this trade. And again, I'm sharing this to show you guys that even profitable traders will make mistakes. Whether it is just pure like mechanical mistakes, or if it's letting your emotions get ahead of you, right? Which is pretty much exactly what happened to me today. So again, a very, very, very demotivating, disappointing, annoying, and sad day. Yes. However, you always have to look at the bright side. And I reflected through this because, yes, when I took this off, I was super annoyed at myself, right? I said, like, damn, I thought, I'm better than this. And I said to myself, look at the bright side. You were absolutely correct, right? Everything you believed to happen, happened. The only thing is, instead of staying focused on that, right, and tunnel vision on that, you let your emotions get the better of you. And instead of trading logically, trading like you're supposed to, you traded emotionally. Now, is that a bad thing? Sure. Is it very easy fixable? Yes, that is the fucking great thing, right? A lot of people would fucking give everything to have this type of problem in the trading, right? Most people's problem in trading is that they don't understand what's going on. My problem was that I understood what was going on. I just couldn't listen to it because I was so emotionally full of myself, right? Which again happens, right? And you can see the only loss I take this week was because of this. Super annoying, disappointing, sad, whatever you want to call it. I'm really not happy about this. But it's also just a learning experience for me, right? I know now going into the next week that I need to be better at this. I need to trust myself more, right, in taking this trade. I need to stay true to my routine, to be consistent, be in a consistent mindset, not wake up late, not push things to do later, right, that I should do before I'm trading. And stuff like this, right, to keep a consistent, good, and healthy mindset, which I did the whole week. Then Friday, the one day I let go, and I fucking burned myself, right? Very stupid, very sad, very disappointing, but also motivating in the fact that I know how easily I can fix this. So it is what it is, really. Either way, great week, despite this loss that should have been a win. But if this actually ended a win, 2RR, or if I took this trade and I hit my 2RR, this would have been a fucking phenomenal week, right? This loss kind of ruins it a little bit. But hey, it's the reality of trading, right? It's just how it is, man. It's just how it is, and it's still phenomenal week. You can't let these losses get to you. This is an annoying loss again because it was my personal mistake. It wasn't just, me following my setup and whatever. It was me actively taking a trade I knew was bad, right? And that is what is so annoying about it. However, that is it. I might make a video about hindsight this week. However, again, I fucking read it pretty much perfectly this week, so I don't even think that's necessary per se, right? Obviously, any 5-minute gap retracement here until this low, and even sometimes past this low, as long as we continue with the momentum, is a possible trade, right? So this gap right here was a potential trade. This gap right here was a potential trade. This gap right here was a potential trade. The same thing, the same way here, right? This was potential trade. This was a potential trade. Same thing on, holy fuck, what did I just do? Same thing on Wednesday, right? This gap, potential trade. This gap, potential trade, right? This gap, potential trade. All of these continuations on the 5-minute after the hourly has activated, right? Confirmed the move. They're all valid trades. ideas. Let me change that up real quick. It's valid trade ideas. It doesn't mean you always will get an entry, right? But it makes sense. You're taking a trade that makes sense if you're listening to that. Either way, I think that's about it. I don't think I have anything more to say for that. And I'm probably not going to do the hindsight video. I might hindsight test a different week, but not this week. So, yeah.